While Vancouver Island is well known as being a haven for outdoor enthusiasts, mainly known for its vast amount of hiking, camping, and scenic views, it's also a living museum with stories scattered across its landscape. One of those stories is that of the Lockheed Ventura plane crash site that sits near the peak of Mt Bolduc within the Cowichan Valley. This site and others like it can be found across the island, and they offer a glimpse into the lives of those who lived through the war. On April 25, 1944, a Lockheed Ventura coastal patrol plane carrying a crew of 6 men became disoriented during a navigational flight from Patricia Bay to Tofino, British Columbia. The plane sadly crashed on Mt Bolduc, leaving no survivors. In the wreckage laid members of Squadron 115, which flew anti-submarine patrols along the coast of British Columbia and southeast Alaska. The fallen members included Flying Officer Ambrose Moynag of Seward E, Prince Edward Island, Flying Officer John E. Moyer from St. Catharines, Ontario, Sergeant Harry Mackey of Sudbury, Ontario, Warrant Officer Brinsley George Henry Palmer from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Warrant Officer Lawrence Kerr of Millay, Alberta, and finally, leading aircraftsman Murray Robertson, who is local to Patricia Bay, British Columbia. After an intensive search for the missing plane, these 6 men were finally laid to rest in a final ceremony atop Mt Bolduc just a few days following the crash. Today, a cairn located nearby the crash site marks the grave and records the names of the crew lost on that day, April 25th, 1944. It's pretty steep. So after a little risky driving all out here by myself, I have finally made it to the Mt Bolduc plane crash site.
Just get into the main site, crash site area here. Every year on Remembrance Day, November 11th, Veterans Day down the States, people do an off-road drive up here. Still no snow at that time usually, so everyone comes and puts their poppy up on the stump here, and I think that's honestly a lovely tradition. As you can see, this is an official grave site, as the 6 officers that were occupying the plane did not survive. Due to this being an official grave site, especially a war grave site, I do feel kind of weird walking around here. But to get a better look at this cairn, gotta come down. I really have no plan for this video. It's just one of those many spots, like I've said in many videos, that I've had marked down forever, and I've been wanting to come to it, but just never find the right time. I tried once before with a buddy back in spring a couple of years ago, but it was still a little too early on, so a lot of snow was left over and we barely made it anywhere up the mountain. Today was a struggle on my own, but we didn't get anywhere that time. Basically, I'm gonna do my best to find as many pieces of the plane that I can by walking through here. It's gonna be a lot harder with snow covering up some things, but you can kind of tell areas where there's shrapnel left, or it's obvious that other people have walked through there and there's kind of a trail made, so I'll do my best. Due to the snow, I can't see much. I do feel like this is a large piece of the plane right through here. This is always where it is too, the spot. That's actually kind of really cool that you can see that. And the blue has faded, but you can still see the yellow and red, which is very interesting to note. That's great. I didn't do a good amount of research into this spot. I have in the past, but I really forget the history on it as much as other than the basics. So I didn't do a lot of history before I came here, because this was kind of like a last minute. I just wanted to leave and go do something and find a place I've never been to. But much like the other airplane crashes from war times that are on Vancouver Island, this one it almost seems like you can tell the direction of flight. I'm sure online it shows that, or there's old photos of actually showing a good amount of how the plane came crashing down here and all the shrapnel. But given this is where the cairn is and the burial site, I'm guessing that's most likely where the cab or the cockpit was of the plane. So I'm guessing it came down this direction. Can't confirm that until I look it up. But just looking at the trees, obviously it's been almost 80 years since it crashed, but you can see there's a big opening up here, much like other common crashes on the island, like the Canso bomber in Tofino, as well as the one up in Port Hardy. If you look up at the trees, you can see the area that the plane took out when it came to a halt, when it crashed. Obviously, that's not really a positive thing to think of, but I find it quite interesting, honestly, just being able to map it out like that. As I make my way up here through what I believe to be the way it came down, you can see a lot more pieces throughout the trees here. This, judging by the thickness and how far it goes out, I'm guessing this might have been one of the wings right here. Wow. So this huge piece is this would have been one of the little windows for the pilots. So the nose of the plane would have been just up here. That's one of the side views that they would have. Honestly, I've seen Instagram pictures and a few YouTube videos of people coming through this area and documenting it and paying their respects. but I didn't realize how much of the plane was still here. Most people seem to only like photograph or video the main area down there, which is understandable, but it's crazy. Some parts of the plane that are here that I've never seen photos or anything of, and it just keeps going up the mountainside. Wow. Another huge piece, and once again, potentially a wing, one of the tail wings. I decided against going much further after that little window off the cockpit, since the snow is quite piled up that way. Felt kind of weird walking along not knowing what I'm stepping on, potentially stepping on parts of the plane or whatnot, and I feel like that's extremely disrespectful in so many ways. So I decided against it. I did my best to kind of zoom in on a few pieces that I could see from where I was, but I could see stuff further up the mountainside here, and I decided against it. So I'm going to make my way back over to the cairn and the poppies, and I'm going to place my poppy on that stump. Pretty far back here, but just zooming in, you can see one of the engines on the ground. Like I stated, I don't feel like walking in these areas that I can't fully see what I'm stepping on, so I'm not going to go get any closer, but behind the engine, you got the other side panel where you can see a bit of the paint still remains as well. Because access to this crash is a lot harder than some others on the island, it's not really a hikeable crash site to attend. A lot of smaller pieces that if you were to attend the Tofino bomber over the last 10 years, you would see how it's changed, and a lot of people have taken pieces from it. But here you still have a lot of small pieces that people could obviously easily take if they want to, but they remain, which is very nice to know. Yeah, like I was just saying, when I first hiked out to the cancel bomber in Tofino, I did it before it was like an official hike like it is now with a boardwalk and everything, close to 10 years ago or so. Nice woodpecker. And the plane itself was obviously it still is pretty intact, but there are little pieces there that were interesting, cool, I don't even know the right terminology to say, that were still there. And then if you go there now, people have taken them. Potentially, maybe they've been removed by, by the military or the Air Force, and they've been put in some type of museum. But given how things get treated around here and the amount of graffiti that's also on that cancel bomber, I'm guessing that people have potentially just taken it themselves for their own little collection. Put the camera down for a second to find a good spot for this to stick in. I was about to head back to my car, then I found this nice clean area where there's no snow. Thought I'd check it out to see if there happens to be anything else over here, and there just happens to be the second engine. Not much to say on it, as I know little to nothing about aircraft. But to go back to what I was saying about graffiti at the Canso bomber in Tofino, I thought this place was clear of it, but apparently not. People have engraved their names and everything into this just to show that they've been there. Every time you go out hiking, off-roading, camping, anything, always clean up after yourself, but I just feel like it's just another it's on another level when you're at an actual grave site. Like, why do you need to carve your name into something like this? It is interesting to see that one of these was from 1970. Another little item here that I attempted to research when I get home is these black marks down the trees. There's one right here, obviously, and then I saw another one kind of on the other side of the crash, and I'm wondering if it is some form of electrical strike to the tree itself, whether that be, you know, lightning, obviously that has nothing to do with the plane crash, or if something to do with when the plane came down, it caused this to happen, or it's just being a tree and I'm an idiot. If there's been constant tapping in throughout this whole video, it's because this woodpecker up here has been going to town on this tree, up and down, tapping on it and dropping pine cones down on me. So that is pretty much going to be the end of this video, other than me trying to drive down this mountain and get home safely and alive and not crash in the snow. But basically, you know, I've said time and time again that I have all these places mapped out on my map, just on the island alone, places that I've wanted to go to for years, I've known about. I want to see the history, just the whatever, well, it depends on what it is, but this one obviously is based on the history and the fact that it's one of those places that people could easily destroy if they wanted to. Please don't. But yeah, this was one of those trips that I was just like, I haven't been out in a while, I haven't gone camping in a couple months, so I'm like, I'm just gonna go. You know, feels schedules and everything weren't aligning, but I just wanted to go see this one. I knew that there would be snow here. Honestly, I'm thankful that there's not more than there is. There's out here where I parked, but in there, as you saw, due to the trees, there's not much snow, which is actually really nice because I was still able to see a good amount of it. And there's more to it than I actually knew or thought. So yeah, other than that, it's pretty much just gonna be me driving down the mountain. Might film some, might not. It's 2:40 right now. It gets dark at like 4, so I really gotta get down and out of the snow. There are a couple parts of this drive that I probably should have stopped earlier and just hiked up the rest. Anyways, make my way out of here. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, I like to do a little bit of everything that involves this vehicle, whether it be camping, overlanding, little off-roading videos, and a lot of the time I like to do my best to get out to places like this and document the history of the island, abandoned places and whatnot. So if you like this video, that'd be awesome. If you could, I hate being that guy, but if you could subscribe, that'd also be awesome. Anyways, thanks for watching.